With it or quit it. With it, quit it.
What?
With it.
We about to turn up in this bitch.
All right, what are we winning or quitting today, Heller?
Hey guys, Baker Mayfield had thrown a TD in every NFL game he appeared in until Monday night. The now 4-0 49ers whooped the Browns 31-3, capping off a rough week for the AFC North. It saw the Ravens struggle to beat the Steelers, and the Bengals stay defeated. Joy and Ryan, the AFC North is a wasteland. Wit it or quit it.
Oh, wit it. It is absolutely a wasteland. And shout out to Ryan, Heller, and T, who are all 49ers fans. I'm surrounded by 49ers fans right now. So congrats to you guys.
We beat Cleveland. Isn't that good?
It is good to beat Cleveland. They look great. Also, I just really underestimated the 49ers this year. Mistake by me. But AFC North is an absolute wasteland. It's disappointing. The Ravens have come way down. We all thought Lamar Jackson was a Hall of Famer first 2 games of the season. Probably should have chilled out a little bit. He did look great, and it's fun. You know, we haven't seen football in a little while, and he looked amazing. So we all got a little crazy about it. Not saying that he's bad. He's still good, and he's still developing. Still gonna be a franchise quarterback, but just maybe not a Hall of Famer just yet. And when I did the research on it, it made a little sense because the Ravens are 3-2. They've in fact beaten the Dolphins, which are statistically probably going to be the worst team in NFL history. The Cardinals, who just got their first win over Cincinnati, and the Steelers, who were on their 3rd quarterback. So when you look at it, maybe we just got a little out of hand with the overreaction on how good the Ravens were. They lost to the Chiefs, which was a respectable loss. They did hang with them, so it wasn't an embarrassment. And then to the Browns, which was an embarrassment. Not because it's the Browns, but just they looked terrible and got their asses kicked. So Ravens, not as good as we thought they were. Then you have the Browns, who are 2-3, as we know after that ass kicking last night. They also lost to the Rams in a respectable loss. But they have wins over the Jets and the Ravens, as we talked about. Jets have 0 wins. And also the Titans, who we just can't, we don't know anything about.
Can't figure them out.
Right. So, I'm sorry, they lost to the Titans, which we don't know anything about either. So then they have the Steelers, who are 1-4. They beat Cincinnati. Everyone beat Cincinnati. We've already been over that. They lost to the Ravens, the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Pats. Those are all good teams, except for the Ravens, who we don't really know anything about. But they do have a winning record. They have no Ben Roethlisberger, now no Mason Rudolph because of that awful hit. Not an illegal hit, Heller. Don't start.
They don't have a cart either, though.
They also don't have a cart. Heinz Field, fix
How?
that. What an embarrassment.
Gosh.
I mean, the cart needed a cart. And now they're on someone named Delvin Hodges, who is undrafted. He's an undrafted rookie out of Samford. And then there's Cincinnati, who's a dumpster fire. So basically the AFC North is wide open, which is why I thought the Browns had a great opportunity last night to get on a roll, to beat a really good team, to show that they are, in fact, a playoff team, and they've got it together, and the opposite of that happens. But if you had to pick right now, who you like out of that list?
I'm going to be honest, I still like the Ravens. When you look at their loss to the Browns, who would expect this to all of a sudden turn into a running team? You knew their defense was talented. You obviously know they can't block. You know, if you take away the quick pass to Odell, there's not much there. But who knew that Chubb would absolutely go off? Like no one expected that. And I think it just really caught Baltimore off guard. But I'm more confident as far as Baltimore just because Lamar Jackson is so much of a wild card, Joy.
Yeah.
Like, do you blitz him? Do you sit back? Like, you almost have to pick your poison. And guess what? Just keep it real. Tell me that if you were the Ravens, you didn't overlook the Browns.
They may have not taken the Browns as seriously as they needed to. But also, it's just, look, like, not to use a very old cliche about, it's a game of inches, but any given Sunday. Like
True.
This is what happens in the league. They're all professionals. Like you can't even Cincinnati. You can't even count out Cincinnati.
No,
they tried really hard
count out
to
Cincinnati.
I mean, they almost beat the Cardinals.
Cincinnati, Miami.
No, I think I'm with you. I think you have no choice but to pick the Ravens because they are still the most complete team. The Browns have a really rough stretch ahead of them the next couple games, so that's kind of more what worries me about them.
Lamar Jackson knows who he is. The Browns have no idea who they are.
Thank
no
you.
idea.
Thank you. Hey, Browns fans. That's another person that said that you don't have any identity. It's in fact not just me. I heard they were writing blogs about me in Cleveland. I did not take, to be clear, I didn't take any time out of my day to check because I just don't care. But it's true, and that's not a bad thing. Like, they're a young team. They have a brand new head coach in Freddie Kitchens. They have all kinds of new pieces. It's not surprising they don't have an identity yet. You're right. The Ravens are the only team that has an identity in this division. The Steelers are on their third quarterback. So, I mean, look, Delvin Hodges came in and did a respectable job for being thrown into that situation. So I'm not even going to take a jab at him. It's just a disaster of a situation.
Word on the street, AJ Green's getting traded to the 49ers. There's rumors. Just rumorville, just throwing out. Who knows? Word on the street.
I have no ill will towards the 49ers. And I can only hope that that's the case.
Are you a Steelers fan or just kind of like?
So I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. I am a Steelers fan. This is how I do it. So I'm excited about the Dolphins.
Your fanship?
Yeah, I'm excited about the Dolphins for like the first 6 weeks of the season, and then inevitably it's a disaster, and then I switch over to the Steelers. Maybe like 8 weeks into the season.
I guess you got to pass.
Yeah, because the Steelers, I know what they're going to do for the first couple games of the season. It's gotten a little weird now. Like, the Steelers have decided to do this thing where they don't win. So it's new. it's a new year for me, but that's kind of how I do it. I mean, I've been a Dan Marino fan my whole life. He's a Pitt guy, so I've always kind of split between the two. And then naturally, obviously, Jason went there, so it no longer became a choice. I also had years as a Jets fan, which was interesting. Although, in my opinion, his best year because they went to the AFC Championship.
But you're completely away from the Jets now.
Yeah, I no longer care about the
ties.
Jets.
Okay.
I mean, obviously we follow the Jets, but like I don't have any emotional ties to how the Jets do. And I also spent a year as a Washington Redskins fan.
But you severed ties with Gruden.
Well, I mean, the instantaneous moment Jason left DC, we were out of there. It was very strange, but I'm sure Jason enjoyed his time there. I'm not speaking for him. But yeah, so.
But you didn't.
Well, let's talk about the Redskins, shall we? Let's perfect transition. Thank you for that.
Well, yeah, let's talk about those winless Washington R words. Head coach Jay Gruden was fired at 5 a.m. on Monday, the day after the R words lost to the Patriots, even though everyone loses to the Patriots.
Correct.
Joy, the Redskins are the most dysfunctional franchise in the NFL. Wit it or quit it.
Wit it. The incompetence of the Redskins is unmatched in the league at this moment. It is staggering. So obviously they fired Jay Gruden. They did not listen to my advice, which usually ends badly for everyone who doesn't listen to my advice. The new coach, Bill Callahan, if you remember him, he was the coach of the Raiders after Gruden left. So he did coach them to a Super Bowl, but he's since been a offensive coordinator and offensive line coach and things like that since then. Another interim coach at some point also, but he is the interim coach of the Redskins right now, and he said that Haskins is not ready to start right now. Would say he would be a starter down the road. So again, they still have no idea what they're doing with Dwayne Haskins. So cool pick by them. The thing about the Washington R words is that they have been dysfunctional for some time now. And I don't ever understand the point of firing a coach in the middle of the season, which is what I said last week. You did take Dwayne Haskins, which we can all assume at this point was a decision that was made by the owner. And we know that Dan Snyder is a meddling owner, and we'll get to him in a second. But this franchise, like many franchises who have meddling owners and GMs and coaches that aren't on the same page, make decisions about players that set your franchise back for decades because you can't all be on the same page. So now they have the situation where they took Dwayne Haskins, they're not developing him, and they've just gotten rid of their coach in 5 games into the season after a loss to the Patriots. Look, 0-5 is not great for anyone. Nobody wants to be that. But you just lost to the Patriots and you don't have Alex Smith. You knew your quarterback situation was going to be a disaster at the beginning of the season. So make a choice. I hate when coaches don't announce who the quarterback is going to be. Just say who it's going to be and just ride with it. You always have the availability to change your mind. But when you come out to reporters and like, I don't know if it's going to be this guy, maybe it's this guy, I don't know, we have to see how camp goes. Like, okay, basically you're telling me you're going to be awful this year. Thank you for clearing that up because you didn't make a decision.
You know what? When I hear that, it just gives me bad memories because I played in I'm not going to say the organizations. I've been played in situations where the owner was either a little too involved and then the coach couldn't coach. Right. The general manager couldn't pick players. It was more about who he liked and didn't like. And the best organizations, ownership takes a step back. They're not fanboys. They're not saying what I know, what I don't know. You know basketball. No, step back and enjoy the games. Let who you hire, the experts, go ahead and do their job. You paid a coach to coach, let him coach. You didn't pay this guy to be your best friend. Right. So that's what's tearing Washington apart now. We talk so much, Joy, about culture, about knowing who you are. As much as we're tired of it, we're tired of the Patriots. They have a great culture, okay? Look at the Rams. Sean McVay came in and created a culture there. All these winning organizations, Richard Sherman, love it or hate it, he's creating this bad boy culture with the 49ers. You don't even have that. And if you're a team that's losing, let's say your players aren't there, Jay Gruden, well, your job was to develop. Your job was to play hard. Your job was to make sure these guys have their shirts tucked in and their shoelaces tied. Just the basic necessities of just being a professional and playing football. And you didn't see that. So that's the big frustration that's going on, with the Redskins. And also when you look at it, it's just like, dude, you had one job to do. But I do agree with you. He wasn't the only problem there.
No, he wasn't. And coaches are always the scapegoat because you can fire a coach. You can fire a coach mid-season.
Yep.
You can cut players, but you're not going to cut quarterbacks mid-season. And we all know the owner is not going anywhere. And usually the GM doesn't go anywhere either. So I'm with you. Like, I'm not saying Jay Gruden is a perfect coach or didn't make any mistakes. I'm just saying if Jay Gruden was told he had to draft Dwayne Haskins and develop him and he didn't believe in him, then it's not Jay Gruden's fault that Dwayne Haskins isn't ready, and it's not Jay Gruden's fault that they're not successful this season.
Working out.
And owners never look at it from that perspective. So let's just move on to Dan Snyder then. So he's cementing himself as one of the worst owners in sports. Like, he's widely considered to not be one of the best owners, but this move here, to me, not because I'm super high on Jay Gruden, but it's everything that you just said. Like, the Patriots, there's only been one time that Bob Kraft has intervened in a Bill Belichick decision, and that was to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. And it seems like everyone has benefited from that choice, including the 49ers. So he doesn't meddle. He's not known for meddling. He lets Bill Belichick do his thing. And anyone who is good at running any business knows you have to delegate. You don't know how to do everything.
And I'll say this too. Even when they go out and sign a bad boy, they sign an Antonio Brown. They knew when it was time to sever ties with these guys.
Right.
They knew what they were bringing in. They knew who they were, and then they severed ties. But that was a culture. That's their deal. That's the Patriots' deal.
Yes, and they don't waver from how they do things.
Nope.
They don't back off of it. There is no culture there. And look, racist team name aside, which he has said very clearly and openly that will never change. Since he purchased the team in 1998, they are 139, 180, and 1 through the end of last season. So they've tag a few more losses on there. Obviously, they have no wins. They've also gone through 8 head coaches in 17 seasons. He also once sued season ticket holders who were unable to pay through the 2008-2009 U.S. recession, when nobody had any money, except for the uber rich, which is why he was suing. And despite that claim, despite the fact that he did that, there were over 200,000 people on the season ticket waiting list. So I don't know, maybe like 40 of them probably still had some money in the bank besides the recession. So you probably could have just given up those season tickets to those guys. But nonetheless, sued his season ticket holders. He also banned all negative signs from FedEx Field. So, that they eventually got away with that. But that was an actual thing. And also, on a personal note, I've had a hot dog thrown at me at the stadium. So,
wow.
Which is unforgivable. So, yeah, it's a long story. I'm very anti.
Hot dog?
I do not get down with hot dogs, okay, on a very, very serious level. Like, I don't with hot dogs. And I was walking to the car, and there were some drunk guys following me and my friends after a game, and they didn't like that we did not appreciate their advances, so they threw a hot dog at the car.
Wow, cowardly move.
That said, meddling owners always fail. Like, even if the most notorious meddling owner is Jerry Jones. And while everyone loves Jerry and they have a wildly successful business, they haven't won a Super Bowl since 1996. Those are the facts.
Let me ask this, though, like, on the low, like, does Jerry Jones and, like, Mark Cuban, do they know enough about sports? Like, have they educated themselves?
Okay, so Jerry actually played football in college.
Okay.
A long time ago. Yeah. But
what football was this, like,
intramurals?
intramurals?
I think he played for
like
Arkansas. Yeah, I think it was an offensive
and
lineman?
anyone who he's ever worked with was on that Arkansas team. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about knowing sports. Like, you and I know sports. That doesn't mean that I am in a position to be an NFL or NBA GM and make those decisions. Could I run the business side of it? Probably, because I would put people around me who know how to do certain things, and I feel like I know enough about the culture of sports that there would be certain ways that I would do something in an organization. That said, wildly underqualified to be a GM. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that just because you are around sports doesn't mean you know how to do something. But what I do think these owners get into a lot of trouble is they think that they can make these decisions because they fall in love with a guy, and like you come in to meet with the team, it's like, oh, this guy's great, and we can advertise him, and I can just see him on the billboards now. It's like, yeah. But he's not good at football, and he's not really that good at basketball, but he doesn't fit your system, but he doesn't fit the culture, but he's not actually a hard worker. Like there's a reason why the Patriots and the Spurs are the Patriots and the Spurs. Because even if they like somebody, even if they think this guy is good or athletic, he doesn't fit what we do. There's a Spurs way. There's a Patriots way. Like when you have a culture, you get guys that fit into your culture. You don't just do things willy-nilly because the owner wants you to. And that's why the Redskins are in the situation they're in. So not that it was a mistake to get rid of Jay Gruden eventually. In the middle of the season, you solved nothing. So season's already lost. Why not try to develop Dwayne Haskins? You're already 0-5. Who cares? Your season is over. Try and develop Dwayne Haskins. If it doesn't work, you're still going to be bad, right? So you're still going to get a pick. You're still going to take a quarterback in the next draft. Where's the loss here? Except for now you have no direction. And guess what? All those rumors about Mike Tomlin going to Washington, never happening. What coach would take this job? What coach? This isn't a good job for a coach that's never been a head coach. This isn't a good job for a head coach that's been fired everywhere he's gone. Like this is not a good job. And I feel bad for the person that has to take this job because this is your future. That's the fate of whoever takes this job. I mean, I gotta keep it real. I mean, who would you want to be? Like, let's just go down the other terrible teams. I don't want to just crush the Redskins. Like, just keep it real and keep it in perspective of how bad this situation is there.
Are the Dolphins exempt from
Okay,
this?
well let's start with Cincinnati, right? Because we all bang on Cincinnati, right? So. Would you rather be the Washington R-Words or Cincinnati? Cincinnati has a new head coach. Obviously, they're absolutely terrible, but they will get a new quarterback next year because there's no way that they're sticking with Andy Dalton for another year, right? Right? I mean, there's no way that happens.
He ain't been nowhere. He ain't gone nowhere yet. So, I mean, I'm not thinking that he's going anywhere soon, Joy.
This is setting up for your least favorite thing. Andy Dalton plays the next 3 to 4 games, first 3 to 4 games of next season in a transition period, handing off to the rookie quarterback.
So right,
Hey,
what's gonna happen?
Hey, but I mean, if Eli Manning came out as a starter at the beginning of the season, and you saw with Daniel Jones, I mean, I can't think Andy Dalton's going anywhere.
Please. Okay, you're so right. That's so what's happening. But in my mind, I'm just going to live in this euphoria where that doesn't happen. Okay, so they're going to get a new quarterback next year. They have a new head coach, so they're going to give him another year. They were completely average for 16 years under Marvin Lewis, but they gave Marvin Lewis 16 years. So it's not like an organization that flips on people really quickly. So at least you have the potential for longevity and consistency there. Like, at least they're going to try and develop whoever they bring in. The Dolphins are on pace to be the worst team statistically in NFL history, but they have a public plan. One I don't agree with, but they have a public plan. They have a new head coach in Flores who they're going to stick with. Okay? They have a black GM and a black head coach. Hello. And they were in the playoffs in 2016. So for all this talk, like, they were just in the playoffs under a different head coach, but they did go. Like, it happened. It was a wild card and they got their asses kicked, but they were there. The Browns have Baker, Odell, Landry, Myles Garrett. They may not be good, but they're relevant. The potential. We talk about the Browns every single day. The Jets have Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell. Jets I don't even think should be in this conversation. It just so happened that Sam Darnold got the kissing bug.
Did he get it from? Is this 100% fact?
I don't think that he's going to admit where he got mono.
I really want to know this.
Okay,
like,
look,
is there another way you get mono?
Yes. Okay.
How else?
Actual facts. I didn't do the research today. Okay, Carlene did the research, but I asked her because I've never had mono. How do you get mono? Because everyone's always like, oh, like you get kissing, but you can also get it from like sharing straws or spoon. It's basically passed through saliva. So however saliva passes from one person to another.
So he broke code. I feel like there's kind of like general hygiene codes where like, I'm not, like, Joy, I'm not drinking after your straw.
No.
We wouldn't do that.
We would
You wouldn't
not.
drink after my straw? If your mouth was on there, I think we had a dispute earlier. Whose cup was that?
Yeah, I did
My
ask
man
first.
jumped right in. Like, yo, he flew across the desk. Joy, this is not yours.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
like Sham Darnold, like, how old are you to not know general
I
etiquette?
I mean, I don't want to judge because I don't know how he got mono, but he's been very sick. He had an enlarged spleen, which sounds very
This is
painful.
sad. I would feel almost more comfortable if this was a kissing thing. Like, you should know not to put your mouth on things that.
I don't know how we got it, but that's.
God.
I mean, we haven't talked a lot about it, so I'm glad we had that conversation.
Does everybody feel like that? Like, if that was me, like, hey.
It's not the best thing to catch. Like, it'd be better if he had the flu or like something we could all talk about. Like mono's kind of like, you know, like you talk about it when you're like 12. Like, oh, they got mono. You guys were thinking about that mono. Ah, you kiss. Like that's kind of, you know. But anyway,
I'd have made a statement like it wasn't because of kissing.
mono's tough. You know, it's tough. We're not gonna forget this. The Cardinals are bad too, but they have Cliff and Kyler. Like nobody considers that franchise to be dead. The Titans they're gonna get a new quarterback next year, probably, maybe. I don't know. They might stick out with Mariota, but they have Mike Vrabel. Like they're you never know what's gonna happen with the
So
Titans.
is this like the best of the worst? Is that
Yes,
what we're
this is the
answering?
best of the worst. And then I don't know what the Falcons are. The Falcons will never be the same because Shanahan's not coming back. That's basically what it is. But the point is, like, out of all those teams, I would rather be any of those teams. I'd rather be Cincinnati than I would be the Redskins.
No, you do have a point there. And what's big about a plan? I even look at the Chicago Bulls, how they just kind of overhauled their roster. But you know there's a plan in place. They want to bring some good guys into the locker room. You can't have bad energy there. When you don't know a plan, when you don't know who's the head, when you see things sway back and forth, like you just don't it's a huge, huge problem. So I would say from a player's perspective, from a coach's perspective, you just want to know who you are. You want to know direction. So I agree with you. And it's much bigger than big wins and losses. I mean, even look at the Cowboys. They sucked for years, but guess what? They drafted offensive lineman after offensive lineman after offensive lineman, and things figured its way out. So I do fully agree with you that just rain, sleet, or snow, there's a problem. They couldn't even draft right. Obviously, the coaching situation couldn't get fixed. And like you said, we'll credit Miami. You know where they're going. You know the direction. There's no confusion in that locker room. As critical as we are about the Raiders, and we'll get to this later, we know who the Raiders are.
Yeah.
We know who John Gruden's like, yo, everybody out. You're gone. Draft picks.
No. You're right. They really have no identity whatsoever. The Browns are still the Browns are the Browns. There you go.
Going to the Super Bowl, right?
No.